Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Golf on Tap. I am your host, Joey Ricotta, at Joey Knows Nothing on Twitter. Joined as always by my co-host, Jack Bushman, at Jack Bushman2. We are polar opposite tonight. One of us is in celebratory mode after hitting an outright. Green jacket, gold jacket, who gives a shit? John Rahm does. John Rahm, the winner of the Masters. Jack over there, he's got some things he wants to air tonight. Some grievances, some things he wants to vent about. One maybe being Rory McIlroy. Jack, the Masters just took place. We're going to recap that before we move ahead to the RBC Heritage. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, it was not the Masters that I was hoping for this year. I am very happy that you cashed in on a nice outright. John Rahm 10-1, a fantastic number, his fourth victory of the season already. I feel like an absolute idiot for passing up on that, but yeah, man, pretty frustrating that wasn't able to kind of ride some of the momentum that we had found in the events leading up to the Masters. We didn't get an outright, but I had been close in particular a couple of times there with Cameron Young at the match play, Spieth at Valero. I passed on Corey Connors or that was at Valero, excuse me. Jordan Spieth was at the Valspar. So it was frustrating. I was feeling like I was heading in the right direction going into the Masters, and nothing even really came through all that much. Jordan Spieth, as he always seems to do, ran through the course on Sunday to give himself some life. Feels like you can't have a Masters Sunday without Jordan Spieth making it interesting, but never really had a chance in it, which was pretty frustrating. And as you referenced, I got lots of things to rant about, not only just how poorly and shitty my players played, but also kind of just the Masters in general, Joey. I got a couple gripes from this tournament. As fantastic as it was, it left me wanting a little bit more.
Yeah, I totally feel that, man. I mean, from my perspective, what I wanted more is I wanted to be able to watch it more. I didn't get the opportunity to watch as much as I would have liked to, being a normal Masters, because family events, life happens. You've got Easter on the same weekend, the same day of the final round. It's just kind of one of those things. I'm not really truly upset about it, but I am a little bit like, damn, this year wasn't quite the same. All the way from the bad weather that we had to Patrick Cantlay taking hours and upon hours in between rounds. Trees falling on top of people, almost. People like in between trees. It was just a wild Masters, honestly, from what I saw and from what I've seen reported on it. Jack, let's hear it. Let's hear some of those grievances. Let's hear some of those things that you're a little PO'd about or wanting a little bit more of, I guess.
Yeah, first off, I do want to say I did think it was an excellent tournament still. I thought it was awesome that it was the most viewed Masters that we've had in quite some time. It absolutely killed it on the TV ratings. I'm really happy for John Rahm, a well-deserved winner, and it was actually pretty cool, Joey. I don't know if you saw, it blew up on Twitter, a tweet that Rambo had from 2013 where it was a Panda Express fortune cookie that he got, and he tweeted out, "I'm going to win the Masters." So it was pretty cool to see him, obviously, and then on Seve's birthday, becoming the fourth Spanish player to ever win the Masters. It was really awesome, and I'm really happy for John Rahm. And I loved that Brooks Koepka was in the mix. I mean, listen, we've talked a lot of crap about live golf, but at the end of the day, that's like the best case scenario storyline for Sunday is Brooks Koepka's back alive, making a charge. It's Major Brooks. I mean, it just felt right. And even Phil Mickelson, out of nowhere, Phil's coming and finishing third place or whatever it was. I did like all those storylines, but to me, it was still kind of a lackluster Masters. And the first thing I want to gripe about, how I want to start this rant of mine, is the fucking TV coverage, dude. It's fucking bullshit. My language, it's fucking bullshit.
No.
Go a whole Saturday. The leaders are teeing off at 1:00, and you're not going to broadcast anything on CBS until 2 when the leaders are on the 5th, 6th, 7th hole and everyone before them's already almost done with their round. And then just to spit in their face, just to spit in CBS's face, the round gets canceled like 20 minutes after their broadcast starts. And that's what led to them on Sunday saying, "Oh, we're going to televise the whole thing." The only reason CBS...
You should have from the beginning.
The
Yeah.
only reason CBS did that is because they got absolutely screwed on Saturday because of the weather, because their broadcast only got 20 minutes. But the fact that this happened in the Masters, Joey, in the Masters, arguably one of 2 or 3 tournaments where the average man who doesn't give a shit about golf actually wants to watch PGA Tour golf, and he can't even watch the best players in the world because CBS isn't broadcasting until 2:00. And on the Masters app, I got to go watch an AI go broadcast my shot. What are we talking about? This is the
Dude.
Masters. And I'm sorry to keep going here for a second, but the sad part is us true golf fans who watch every week and are trying to follow shots and stay up to date. This happens week in and week out on the PGA Tour. It's even worse usually. And for this to happen in the Masters, I mean, just completely unacceptable. And I hope it's just a moment where CBS recognizes something has to change here. I don't know the ins and outs and the details of making a broadcast schedule work. And I'm not the person that's going to be obviously making these changes. It's not my job to do so, and I'm not qualified to do so. So I don't mean to be calling anybody out. But we got to start the broadcast earlier. What are we doing? It's Sunday, the only day of a 4-day tournament that really most people care about. And we can't even watch anything on TV till 2:00. What are we doing? It's the only sport in the world that gets done besides Major League Baseball. We don't have to get into a rant about that and the blackouts, but it's by far, in my opinion, the worst broadcasting of any professional sport that I've ever seen. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this weekend was completely unacceptable. I know they tried to make up for it on Sunday, but what happened on Saturday, Friday, and Thursday, dude, I'm so done with it. Please do a service for the golf fans out there who want to watch your product. Why are you not giving them the product they want to watch? I don't understand it. I don't.
Amen, brother. Amen. And you know what? I told you before the show I had a nice little victory crack 'em right here. Got my Yingling Golden Pilsner. I'm going to crack 'em to that little rant because that was absolutely glorious. And I am right there with you on all of this because we've talked about it on this show at least 2 or 3, 4 or 5, and maybe every week. I don't know. Not every week, but we've talked about it a lot about the viewership or the lack thereof for as far as televising this stuff. You got to go through between Peacock and ESPN Plus and all these different stupid platforms just to find, and in between time frames, you got a platform here, 8:00 to 10:00, and then you got, it's just stupid. I know I'm not being spot on with what I'm saying. It's not actually 8 to 10 and, whatever. But what you're saying, it's absolutely right. And then you get the other people tweeting out reports of like, oh, the most viewed 4th round in the history of the Masters or CBS's. How much of that was bullshit because they picked up the extra coverage, though, because they ended up televising more of it on the day 4, like you said, because of what happened the day before. So don't give me that shit about the most viewed Masters 4th round or whatever that tweet was that I saw, because absolutely you're spot on. This is like the Super Bowl when you're talking about golf from a golf fan perspective or from like the average viewer, as you said. So I don't want to hear anything about, oh, this is just, such a great viewership and the turnout. And thanks to the Live Golf guys. Well, yeah, there was a lot of that, which, by the way, I'll go on record saying I was 100% wrong in the way that I looked at that thing. Looking at the board and looking at the Live Golf guys is basically just wiping them away, as I wanted nothing to do with them. A lot of those guys popped up. Brooks, as you talked about. But now this is here where I kind of victory lap again, because I was right about Brooks choking. I did say that. I said if he's up there near the top, that makes me not really want him later on, because I feel like the pressure will kind of mount. Now, was it just the pressure or was it, I don't know what it was, but that was the only thing that I can kind of be like, okay. And I stuck to my guns there, Jack. Live betting him, I did not live bet him. I know there was a little temptation. I did look at it, and I'm like, Brooks is up there. Should I hedge bet with him? I'm already on Rahm. I'm like, you know what? The odds 10 to 1. Like, if I hit Rahm's outright, it's not an extremely great payout as it is. So why would I do that? So I ended up only up about 3 units, I think, for the tournament, because just about every other bet that I made, other than Shane Lowry's top Irish and Rahm's top 10, got killed. And I had a lot of top 40s or a few top 40s, head-to-heads and all this. They all got absolutely smashed. Jack, overall, How was your betting card? I know you didn't get an outright, but did you do any like I know you did probably some prop bets. How did you turn out overall?
It's actually a great question. I was so infuriated by what happened throughout the week. I didn't even uh, open up the bet slip to see what I won. I was just such a disaster on the fact that I didn't win an outright that I was very upset.
Oh, and if you have more to rant about, please do. I mean, I would love to hear more if you have more, but
Oh, I got plenty. I got plenty more to rant about. I don't think these will be as long. Maybe they will. I don't know. But the second thing I wanted to rant about, this one maybe with a little bit of a grain of salt. I feel like the PGA Tour has gotten so soft with weather. I feel like anytime they have the best players in the world, oh, the wind's up to 25 miles an hour, get them off. And sure, I get there was lightning in the area and there were multiple stoppages. And anytime you have lightning, you have to get the players off the field and you have to make sure the people are safe. I get that. But there were situations throughout those weather delays, both on Friday and on Saturday, where CBS they'd be showing like earlier coverage from earlier in the day, and then they'd go pop out and show the course for a minute to show you the conditions. And like I wouldn't even see the flag stick moving. I'm like, wait, what's going on here? I don't know. It just maybe this event in particular isn't the best one to use as an example. But going back to Pebble Beach earlier this year, where they canceled it just due to the wind, it feels like the PGA Tour has really gotten soft with getting the guys off the course and more so canceling around due to inclement weather. It feels like we've seen it a lot this season. And, again, maybe this was the correct decision for the Masters in particular, but it sucked that, Saturday and Sunday is starting at 6:30 a.m. and on Sunday, some guys are finishing 15, 16, 17 holes. Like, it's such a long stretch and it makes Sunday even more difficult than it is already. So I feel like the weather situation too has gotten a little bit frustrating on the PGA Tour. You mentioned the next thing already that I'm going to rant about. This one maybe is the biggest rant going on around the golf world right now. Patrick Cantlay needs to hurry the fuck up, dude. 5 hours in a round of twosomes. And Patrick Cantlay's out here missing every 6-footer, going and walking up the lineages, doing the slope read. Oh my God. Brooks probably hates him more than he hates Bryson at this point, because if you all remember correctly, that's what really started the Brooks-Bryson beef. Was Brooks had beef with how slow Bryson was playing. And going back to I forget which major it was for Brooks a few years back, but he was playing behind JB Holmes and he was bitching about JB Holmes being slow. I could only imagine the frustration that was building up in Brooks Koepka and Jon Rahm, where they had to stand and wait seemingly for 5-10 minutes on every shot. And even Victor Hovland, who was playing with Patrick Cantlay, looked like he was kind of getting frustrated with the slow play that was going on. I don't know if you saw the video that they showed on 15, but it was Cantlay and his caddy still walking up to the green, taking their sweet ass time. And Victor Hovland's like, enough of this. I'm just going to go. Even though like Cantlay's walking behind him, he's like, I don't care. I'm just going. Patrick Cantlay, and this is coming from a guy who likes Patrick Cantlay. I'm not a lot of people are big Patrick Cantlay fans. I am a fan of Patrick Cantlay's game. Completely unacceptable to take 5 hours, bud, in a round where you're shooting terribly and you're holding Jon Rahm and Brooks Koepka in a 2-horse race theoretically to win the Masters. Come on, bro. Patrick Cantlay, this can't happen again. But I think more importantly, someone has to tell Patrick Cantlay this can't happen again. The PGA Tour needs to enforce these things, because this has also been a problem this year, Joey. We've had even, I think it was the Genesis, where it was a normal field, no weather delays. Saturday morning, they had to come back and finish Friday's round because the pace of play has just been so slow this season. And I get maybe with the designated events and more money being on the line than ever in those events and in majors is going to make guys think about it more. And, you want to take your time to make sure you hit the best shot. I absolutely get that. I hear you, brother. But 5 rounds and twosomes on Sunday at the Masters is
ridiculous.
Completely unacceptable. The PGA Tour has to get on guys about this. They have to get going.
I'm glad that you're bringing this up, because I literally just watched I think it was Siwoo Kim. There was a video out about last year's, I think it was the Heritage last year. So we're going to talk about the RBC Heritage, but before we do, quick shout out to, I think it was last year, he had a birdie putt from off the green, just off the green. He was right on the fringe of the cup It was right on the edge of the cup, and they were waiting for it to fall, just waiting for it to fall. It was gonna fall. They went up to it. I think Matt Kuchar was up there too with them, and he's like, "Yeah, it's moving. It's moving. It's still moving." So they were still waiting for it, and finally the ball dropped in the cup. And an official or somebody came over, and they ended up scoring it as par, even though that was a birdie putt, because they said he took longer than 10 seconds to wait for it. Even though I think it was Matt Kuchar that was saying, I told him that it was still moving, so I was okay with him waiting, and it ended up falling. So why is he shouldn't get that? I mean, what do I know, I guess, but he shouldn't get that. I'm paraphrasing this entire thing, but he shouldn't get that extra stroke because technically he didn't hit the ball again. So that kind of waiting around, he got penalized for taking more than 10 seconds, but Patrick Cantlay's not getting penalized. You know, why is it sometimes enforced? Why is it not enforced other times? You know, so I'm glad you're bringing up this point because I don't really understand it, and there's no real consistency to the whole matter.
No, I completely agree. The rules of golf are outlandish, outdated. They're stupid. They're wrong. And something needs to be that there needs to be some standard set. There needs to be something that you hold everyone to accountable to at the same time. And like you mentioned, it feels like there's just a difference in opinion in what's going on right now. And it's frustrating when these types of things happen. And I get golf's a slow game, but there is a point in time where you got to get it going. I mean, literally, if Brooks Koepka and John Rahm, if Brooks made a charge there, it might have gotten dark. They might have had to wait until Monday because Patrick Cantlay took 5 hours to miss every 6-foot putt. Can't happen. This has to be the last circumstance of this. For that to happen that publicly on Sunday, national attention, it can't happen again. Absolutely can't. That's the last I'm going to talk about Patrick Cantlay. The last thing I'm going to rant about, Joey, before we can go ahead and get on into the RBC Heritage. It's Rory McIlroy, man. What the fuck, Rory?
Whew.
I save him particularly for Augusta. It's what I was saving him for all year. Would have done it again. Same situation. Didn't even think twice about it. And he plays god awful. Loses strokes with the putter. Loses around the green. Loses on approach. Just an absolute nightmare from Rory. The putter was dreadful. He could never get anything rolling. I feel like an idiot for choosing Rory out of these big three, and it's tough because after seeing what he did last year, after the bad first round, that's really what has been the issue for him at Augusta. The bad first round, he came roaring out the last 3 days last year to backdoor a solo second place. He knew all you had to do, go and put together a good first round, give yourself some momentum. Don't get behind the 8-ball. What'd he do? He shoots even fucking par on the easiest day of the tournament. 3 guys go and shoot 65, and then obviously it gets more difficult on Friday with the weather and the temperature. He goes and shoots 5 over. Absolutely dreadful. Really, really upset with Rory at this one. He got you right back in the one and done race.
I mean, yeah, thank you for that, by the way. I know you didn't give it to me. You took a big dog. You took it wasn't even really like taking, for you, this didn't feel like taking a chance. I know that because Rory, you've had this on your mind for a while. You've had Masters locked into your head as that's the spot for Rory. And, you know, fortunately, I mean, hey, thank you, Jack. Like, I'm still, you know, I'm happy that you let me back into this thing, but it feels like fraudulent to me because, still, you can let the people know, whoever's watching this, you're still way up. Let's be honest. But, hey, it feels good to be, now we have something on the line at least each week. Now it feels like I'm itching closer, so it's kind of nice. But no, man, Rory, like, I was surprised. I was just as surprised as you were that he had such a terrible performance. I think it's getting to the point with me where, or for me, I think I'm questioning whether he's ever going to win another major. And I know that's crazy, as good of golf as he's been, as well as he's been golfing for the most part, just not coming through in those majors. It's kind of like random. You can look at that a couple different ways. But is it a case of putting too much pressure on yourself in those majors? And I think that's possible. As good of a career, really outstanding of a career as Rory has had, sometimes I feel like he's just overthinking this in the major events, where all you need to go do is just go out there. You know these tracks, you know your game, just go play your game. like it's another course. Easier said than done. We're not in his position. I'd probably be putting a ton of pressure on myself too. But yeah, man, I've gotten to the point where I'm actually really questioning Rory ever winning another major.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I can't believe he hasn't won a major in 9 years. It's absolute blasphemy. And I said this last year too, going into last year when he snapped that win drought. He won at the Wells Fargo, and he was finding his game a little bit. Before the Masters last year, it just felt like there's no way that Rory doesn't win a major this year. And this year, I mean, before the Masters, now I feel a little differently, but before the Masters, I said the same thing. Like, no way Rory goes another year without winning a major. And then to go and miss the cut that badly, a dreadful performance in the first major championship of the year, yeah, it's going to leave a bad taste in my mouth. And I bet Rory in 2 of the 4 majors last year. I bet him at the Masters, second place. Bet him at the Open last year, pissed it away, second place. It feels like now for me, it's going to be tough for me to get on Rory if he's at the same odds as Jon Rahm and Scottie Scheffler. It just feels like unless he's going to be 14 or 16 to 1, it's going to be hard for me to choose Rory over Scottie Scheffler or Jon Rahm based on where they're at in their games right now. So, yeah, tough one. Taking Rory as my one and done. What a terrible place to use him. Very disappointed in my boy Rory. I hope his daughter Poppy kept him up all weekend and just gave him a terrible weekend, because that's what he gave me. He gave me a terrible weekend. I hope he had a terrible weekend too. That's it. I'm done with the rants.
I'm sure he did, Jack. I'm sure he had a terrible weekend, whether anybody kept him up or not. I think he probably had a terrible weekend. But no, man, I feel you. I mean, just to quickly talk about Rahm just a little bit more, because I feel like we should at least talk about how great this guy has been. Between him and Scottie Scheffler playing ping pong back and forth for world number 1 golfer, now Jon Rahm is number 1 again. He corrected reporters about not being the favorite coming into this tournament. So he was well aware that he was not the favorite coming into this tournament. And I saw a pretty cool tweet out there by Golf Digest. Rahm has more pro wins, 20, than missed cuts, 14. And I was not aware of that, Jack. I really was not aware of that until I saw that. Really, really cool stat there for Mr. Jon Rahm, the Spaniard. Jack, any kind of final thoughts on the Masters before you move ahead to the RBC Heritage?
I guess kind of just one last follow-up thought on that. We don't have to go any further into it, but I think it's just become very apparent that Jon Rahm and Scottie Scheffler's floor is so much higher than Rory McIlroy's.
Oh, yeah. It's a top 20, top 10 every week, pretty much.
I'll save the stats here for a second because these are the guys we're going to be talking about again in just a moment. But, yeah, it's pretty crazy how consistent Jon Rahm and Scottie Scheffler have been, not only just in the last year, just throughout their careers so far.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And with that said, I think we can move on to the RBC Heritage at Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, for the 55th RBC Heritage. 17 of the top 20 golfers and 38 of the top 50 in the world teeing it up. Harbor Town Golf Links. It's different, right? Elevated event. I don't know if that's good or bad coming off of the major, off of the Masters. I feel like it's good because at least we're not dealing with a poopy field. So there's that. But, how many of these guys are going to be in it to win it? I think there's a select few that will not be as much. But at the same time, these guys are competitive. I think sometimes maybe we overestimate that a little bit about them not being in it to win it after a certain, impact type of event like the Masters. I think one guy in particular who, when we get there, we'll talk about him. There's a couple guys I'm not on this week. Not one guy, but there's a couple guys I'm not on this week. I looked back at last year's kind of recap of the 2022 RBC Heritage. I did not get an outright at that event. I bet Morikawa, Joaquin Niemann, Adam Hadwin, Brian Harmon, Tom Hoagie, and Kevin Streelman at that event. And then kind of split overall even as far as props go. Took some top 40s, Harmon, Tringali. stuff like that. But Jack, Harbor Town Golf Links, thoughts on the course this week?
Yeah, before I get into the course, I do want to mention just the event in itself being a designated event. I think first off, I think they got to change the scheduling next year. Just too many designated events all clustered up here in one time, and we even heard
Yeah,
Jordan Spieth say it after the Masters. It's just been so much golf. Just been
tired,
so
man,
much golf. And he's
tired.
played, I think Spieth in particular has played 8 times in the last 10 weeks, and I mean, right before the Masters, you're having all the designated events in Florida, the Arnold Palmer, the Players, the Waste Management is just before that. You have the Genesis, a lot of elevated events. The Farmers, I believe, was an elevated event as well. So just a lot of designated events. And I think to have one the week after the Masters is an absolute mistake, right? Because these guys they have to go here. You can only skip one designated event throughout the
Hmm.
entirety of the season. And a lot of these guys, I'm sure they're competitive and they want to go out there and give it their all and do their best. But I'm sure a lot of them are just absolutely fucking exhausted right now after the grind that they just had to go through last week at the Masters. So I do think this is something that has to be changed in the future. But with this being a designated event this year, it does make it absolutely different than what we've seen in the past, Joey, because other than 2020, when this was the second event back out of COVID, Harbortown doesn't usually get a field of all of the top players, right? Like you go and look at those, most of those guys that are the 17 in the top 20 that are playing this week, most of those guys have, spotty appearances in their career at Harbortown. They've played it once or twice or a couple of times because it just wasn't really an event that drew a majority of the big dogs in the years past. But obviously, that's changed now. And the question is, how is that going to impact the tournament? Because as I'll talk about in a second, a little bit more, this is a course where kind of anyone can win, and we've seen that in recent years. We've seen Jordan Spieth obviously win last year, but we've also seen my boy Stewie Sink. We've seen
Mm.
CT Pan. We've seen Wesley Bryan. We've seen Satoshi Kodaira. I mean, this is a course that really opens itself up to all types of players. But the question is that still going to be the same now that all the top players in the world are here? So that's kind of the big question I think you got to break down when looking at the field for this week. But as far as Harbortown Golf's link itself, yeah, it's very receptive to all types of players because it's a very short course, one of the shortest on the entire PGA Tour, just shy of 7,200 yards. It's a par 71, but the interesting thing about it, Joey, is because of the way it's structured, it's got tree line fairways, a lot of dog legs, it's very coastal. You don't see a lot of players hit driver because they just really don't need to. Accuracy and precision is really everything here. You want to leave yourself in the right spots. It doesn't matter if it's fairway or the rough. You really just want to leave yourself in the right angles. And kind of another interesting part about Harbortown Golf Links is when you go and look at top 5 finishers in the last 7 years, off the tee means like literally nothing here because whether you hit it 250 or 260, or 250 or 360 with your driver, you're not really hitting a ton of driver here because you're trying to be
Hmm.
accurate. So it's all about approach, it's all about putting. And the kind of make or break thing about this tournament is the wind. If the wind is really roaring, we can see a score like it was last year. Jordan Spieth won this thing at 13 under in a playoff. John Rahm just won the Masters at 12 under. So like this is a course that even though it's very different from Augusta National in terms of yardage and how it's structured, it still can show its teeth because of the wind. Now, when the wind isn't there, you can see this thing get up into the 20s and you can see a little bit more birdies made. So, one thing to look for, I think you do want to be looking out for the weather and kind of looking at the wind finder to see how that's going to be affecting this tournament. Because if it is more difficult, I think, bogey avoidance becomes a statistic you want to focus on more.
Mm.
I think par becomes a much better score when it becomes more difficult here, and you don't want to be giving shots back at that point. But when it's easier, you want to be taking advantage of good approaches, making a lot of birdies, opportunities gained. I think is a big stat to look at. So weather again this week, like it was last week at Augusta National, I think is a really big focal part at Harbortown Golf Links. But I do think it's a very intriguing tournament. I really do like this course a lot, and I'm really interested to see how having all the big dogs in the field is going to shake things up. I have a feeling it's probably going to be one of the elites winning again, but if there is a course that can kind of open itself up to some longer odds guys, It's here in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, which, by the way, one of the most beautiful, beautiful courses on the entire PGA Tour. Definitely tune in.
Really is.
It's gorgeous.
It really is. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love the area there. Like just the area itself.
Paradise. It's where like probably 30% of the tour guys live. It's like they're in Jupiter.
Yeah, it's terrific. I think if you ask Kayla, she would want to move there. Like, it really, it's a great place to be. But enough dreaming, because I can't move there anytime soon. So, but no, man. I mean, I love the outline here that you gave us about the course, about Hilton Head or Harbor Town. Yeah, it's one of those things where I really weighed a little bit more this week. Greens and reg, accuracy, obviously approach always. Par three scoring was one of the things I actually looked at because it's one of the tougher places it seems like as far as par three scoring goes. And I feel like that's important. There's not a lot of par fives. I think you might have mentioned that, Jack. Three par fives. How many? Do you know how many par threes there are off the top of your head? I don't know how many.
Luckily, your boy has the scorecard pulled up right here.
Hey,
well, if there's three par fives, there should be what's that? 4 par threes? Yeah, 4 par threes.
4 par threes. Okay, so not as many as I thought there was 5 for some reason. But hey, I mean I still feel like it's going to be important on those par three scoring. An approach between 150 and 200 yards. I think approach between 150 200 is going to see a lot of shots in that range. When I was looking at datagolf.com, it seems like a lot of those shots come between there, or like they're predicting a lot of shots to come between there. Maybe about 2 shots more than expected for a lot of these golfers. So that's where I kind of drew a lot of my attention to, and golfers that do well in that range. And that wasn't everything. Obviously, it's not the way I build my betting card, but yeah, talking about the past winners here, it will be interesting. I'm kind of curious to see what your strategy is going about this with a stronger field. Now that you've had the random golfers, as you said, but stronger fields mean how what does that mean as far as like, are we going to see the randomness again, or are we going to see one of those 20-1 and under type of guys take home another tournament? Yeah, strategy wise, Jack, do you have a certain strategy this week?
Well, I'll tell you what, Joey, why don't we real quick here, why don't we go through all the designated events in 2023 and let's go through the winners real quick. You like that game?
Okay, I love that game.
It's not a very hard game. It's an easy one. I'll Century Tournament of Champions, Jon Rahm.
Yeah, yep, makes sense.
Express, Jon Rahm. Waste Management, Phoenix Open,
Scheffler.
Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah.
Players Championship, Scotty Scheffler. The Masters, Jon Rahm. Only been 2 other designated events where Rahm or Scheffler haven't won. Kurt Kitayama won the Arnold Palmer Invitational, of course, and Sam Burns took down the WGC Dell Technologies match play. So, do we just bet Scotty Scheffler and Jon Rahm?
Great question. Honestly, I feel like since we're playing the ping pong game, maybe it is Scheffler's turn, but it feels like when one of these guys win a tournament, they're about to win another one. So does that mean you bet Jon Rahm? Look, I
think it's
no,
tough.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, buddy. I think it's tough this week because in a designated event, coming off just such a big week. First off, if I'm Jon Rahm, I'm still hammered right now.
Right.
I'd much rather bet Scotty Scheffler than Jon Rahm this week. Maybe that's a mistake. And listen, we just talked about Jon Rahm's consistency. The dude's won more in his career than he has missed cuts. I mean, that happens.
I'm drinking with you, John.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not going to put it past Jon Rahm to go and have a good tournament next week or this week, but it just feels like if there's one week where Jon Rahm could kind of take his foot off the gas pedal, it's probably this one. And on the flip end of that, I do really like Scotty Scheffler. I don't love the plus 850, especially in a tournament like this. But one thing I will say, Joey, Scotty Scheffler last week, through 2 rounds, was by far the worst putter in the entire field. Couldn't make a putt basically the entire tournament. He finished tied for fucking 10th. And there was a point on the back nine where I think he birdied 11 or 12 and was down like 3 or 4 strokes. And it was like, look out for Scotty. Like, if he gets
Right.
Scotty could be back in this. Like, Scotty putted as bad as he could putt. And he came in a tie for 10th at the Masters. His game tee to green is just so good where it's almost to the point where it's like if he loses half a stroke or if he just goes even with the putter, he's in the top 3 and he's contending down the stretch on Sunday. And for him to putt that bad, you're going to guess he's probably not going to putt that bad again, right? So he's probably going to finish in the top 5. Like, I don't know. It's crazy how consistent Scotty Scheffler is, really, because he's just so good from tee to green. He doesn't make mistakes. And even when he does, he just has the recovery game to almost feel like he's never going to bogey anything. It really feels that way with Scotty Scheffler sometimes, how good his game is. It's just tough to get there at these odds. But at the same time, we just went through it. Let me pull these back up because after all the winners, I write down their odds when they win these tournaments. John Rahm won the Century Tournament of Champions at 7-1. He won the American Express at 6-1. Scotty Scheffler won the Waste Management at 12-1. He won the Players at 10-1. John Rahm was 10-1 to win the U.S. Open. We got to stop, I think, just throwing away these odds and acting like they're too short because they're not. Because guess what? These guys are the best golfers in the world, and they win. They win.
They're put that way for a reason. They're put that way for a reason. It as stupid as we make it, as smart as we try to be, I should say. Smart as we try to be. We try to outthink the board, right? We try to overthink the price, or that's not good enough for me. You know, it's always wanting more. It's a problem with not only what we are doing as bettors, it's a problem with people. Like, it's a problem with people nowadays. We always want more, Jack. It's never enough. Just take what you can get and go. I mean, honestly, be happy with what you're provided. Maybe you're right. Maybe this is honestly, it's a Scheffler type of week. I can't get to Rahm. I'm not predicting the back-to-back. Zach Ertz either threw him like the bash of a century after shouting him out after the tournament, or he threw his own bash of a century after winning. So kind of with you there. He's probably still hungover. But who's to say John Rahm can't do it again? Like, he could probably do this shit drunk. Honestly, he could probably do it hungover. He's that good. Scheffler, I mean, it's a price thing too for me, but like we just said, I don't know, man. I really don't. I think what we should do from here on moving forward, maybe it's not this tournament, but in future tournaments that these guys are lined up in the same tournament together, we should just bet both of them top 10, parlay them, and call it a day. That should be our card.
It's probably a good idea.
Like let's just squad ride top 10 parlay John Rombo and Scotty Too Hottie, Mr. Scheffler, and just call it a card. We don't even have to do an outright. Just put like a couple $100 on both the parlay.
I like the way you're thinking because that would certainly have paid more money than I've been making the last couple of months, which has been fucking dog shit.
It's been rough for me too, man. Even as good as the last week was, only coming up 3 units doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? It just doesn't feel the way that it should, especially because I fucking sucked the other night with MLB. So it is what it is. I want to pull up Scott's comment real quick too. It's not the Cubs show, but Scott says here, let Nelly B swim. He knows part of Cubs on Tap. He's always in the comment section. Love you, Scott. And he had a big night tonight. Homered in his first game. I think it was his first game since getting called back up from AAA. So pretty cool. Back to golf though, Jack. After those two guys, you have here Mr. Patrick Cantlay, Mr. Take 10 years to go, Patrick Cantlay at 12-1. And then the odds kind of really shift. You know, you got another 600 before you get to Colin Morikawa at 18-1. And then Cameron Young, 22-1. Jordan Spieth, 22-1. What are your thoughts here? Because I feel like this lines up well for just about everybody here. Like, I think I could make a case for just about all of them, especially the defending champ, Jordan Spieth. But you alluded to some things earlier, so I'm curious what you're doing here.
Yeah, this is really the range where I gotta answer the most questions. A lot of guys, like you said, like you could make a case for a lot of these guys. Patrick Cantlay has probably the best course history of anyone here. lost in the playoff to Jordan Spieth last year after his ball got plugged in the bunker in that playoff. And honestly, Patrick Cantlay, if he didn't take fucking forever and miss all those putts on Sunday, he could have won the Masters, actually. And the best and maybe most reliable part of his game other than off the tee for Patrick Cantlay is the putter. Like, that's kind of what people know him as. So it's almost a situation like Scotty where, like, Patrick Cantlay putted well last week. I think he easily could have won the Masters as well. And coming back to a course that he has a lot of success at, I don't love the 12-1. I honestly thought people were going to be, like, off of Patrick Cantlay this week.
Right?
Ragdolled in the golf media, but no, people love that course history too much. He's down to 12-1. I'm not going to bet Colin Morikawa at 18-1 for sure, but this does feel like a mid-iron fest where he could do well. He's an accuracy guy more so than a power guy, obviously known for those irons. So, and he has quietly just been getting the putter and around the green game a little bit better. Oddly enough, at the Masters, he always chips and putts well. And I always get Morikawa wrong. So maybe me saying I'm off Morikawa, maybe that means you guys should take him this week.
Yeah, he's winning, that means, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Cameron Young, a lot of people have been saying this seems like a place for Cameron Young to pick up that first win. He's got Paul Tesori on his bag now. Came really close at the match play not too long ago. I'm probably not going to get to Spieth at 22.
Holy shit. Hold on. Holy shit was I wrong about Cam Young this last week. Holy shit, Jack. I don't remember what I said on the show, but I definitely took him in like some head-to-heads against him, faded him. 2 head-to-heads, I faded him. And I think I got crushed. Yeah, I know I got crushed in both of them. Sorry, continue with Spieth there.
Hey, he's got major game, but Spieth, dude, so frustrating last week because this was another semi-rant that I could get on. But Jordan Spieth, Thursday, Friday, fantastic front nines, like 3-4 under, getting going. Does nothing on the back nine both of those days. A tough Saturday. And then, of course, he goes out there on Sunday and he's making all the putts in the world and goes and shoots 66. And it's like, dude, why do you got to leave this lasting taste in my mouth? Another course that Spieth has golfed well at before, even prior to the victory. I don't know. He pisses me off so much because, again, he's just been so close for me, but it's like he can't do it for 4 consistent days. It almost feels like it's like the Tony Finau syndrome or for whatever reason.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So
don't give him that tag. Holy shit.
I know. And I don't want to do that because obviously Tony's run there was without a whole lot less victories than what Jordan Spieth has. But still, it's like for some reason for Spieth, it always feels like there's just those one little moments where he just can't do it consistently enough. He'll be right there in the mix. He just can't do it enough. So I don't know. This is a really, really tough range for me. That like 12 to 25 feels like you got to bet some of them in there because just the favorites keep on winning. What do you like about this range? Help me out here. I'm having a tough time kind of figuring where I want to go.
Oh boy. Well, since I know I'm not the Cam Young whisperer, I'm Xing him out of my card again because I feel like maybe I was a week too early on getting him. I don't know, fading him. So I guess I'm not going to be on Cam Young. I don't think it's his first victory this week. I could certainly be wrong about him again. Morikawa sticks out, like you said, about with the iron play and being more of an accuracy type of guy. I feel like he's done well here in the past too, right? If I'm not mistaken. I could be with that, the course history. I don't know
he's played here 3 times. He has finishes of 64th, 7th, and 26th. So, all right.
Yeah, that's not bad, but considering the field, so maybe one real bad time though. But yeah, I mean, the guy that sticks out, I don't think I can go back to Spieth here. I don't think he's going to do it back to back because, you talked about it earlier and just being too tired, man. Just being too tired at this point, and him talking about that after the Masters, it leading up to it and how much golf that he's been doing, which not just him, a lot of other guys, but I think it's really wearing on Spieth at this point, because he said it himself basically. So I don't think I can go to Spieth. The guy that sticks out, it's going to piss a lot of people off. And you said that the betting board doesn't really reflect that people are not going to him because they like the course history. I have to get one of these kind of favorites. I just have to. It's just the way the world is going. now. It's the way the golf world is going. You get one of these favorites. The great track record. He's 4th in greens and reg, a stat that I really looked at this week. Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay seems like the likeliest guy to repeat, or it seems like the likeliest guy to win this week. I was still thinking about Spieth. So I'm going to go with Cantlay, I think, at 12-1. I hate the price, not going to lie, but we just got done talking about how it doesn't matter. You just have to go with what you really think. And that's what I'm going to do this week with Patrick Cantlay. I think he's kind of due here. So
I understand that mentality 100%. I was literally, this happened today. I was driving home from work thinking, you got to stop caring about odds, bud. You got to stop caring about odds. Money's money. You got to stop.
Take it.
Got to stop. And I probably got to stop betting over 40.
Do you not collect your 200 when you pass go on Monopoly just because you want 1,000?
You're right. You're right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know that's a really stupid analogy, but that's kind of what I'm thinking here. Like, I'm going to collect my 12-1. If it happens, it happens. It might not. Now it's not going to happen because I'm building it up far too much.
We got to make adjustments, man. We got to make adjustments. I mean, well, I have to make adjustments. You've won twice in like 6 weeks now, something like that. 2 outrights.
Something like that. Yeah. You killed me though. You killed the fall swing though. But as a show, as a whole, we are that's my 3rd of the year, I'm pretty sure. And you have, how many do you have, Jack?
I think I have 4 this year, but 3 were in the fall. So
3 were in the, yeah, but okay. But one of them we were together on. We both, Keegan, we were both on Keegan. So now, do we count that as 7 then, or do we count that as 6 since that was together?
No, this is too much live math. We'll talk about it after the show.
Yeah, well, good point. We'll talk about it later. Victor Hovland, 25-1. Xander Schauffele, 25-1. Justin Thomas, 26-1. Tony Finau, 27-1. Matt Fitzpatrick is 28-1. Sungjae Im, 28-1. A lot of guys in this range. Holy shit. Max Homa, 29-1. Jack, anybody in here that piques your interest? I'm assuming you're probably getting to 1. I don't want to assume. You know what? I'm not going to assume. Anybody like here?
Interestingly enough, I think if Justin Thomas gets to 30-1, it's an auto bet for me this week. And I know his game's been so bad.
Do you think he will though? Like,
I think he could get to 30-1. I don't think anyone wants to play him. This week. He missed the cut last week at the Masters. The putter is very kind of publicly really cold for him right now. And I heard this interesting stat. This was this week. I don't believe it's true in the betting boards, but at least on DraftKings in terms of daily fantasy sports and the pricings that they put out for golf tournaments, this is the lowest Justin Thomas has been in DFS since before his win at the St. Jude like 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah, this is kind
What's
of
he priced at? I'm gonna go look at DraftKings. Did you see his DraftKings price?
I didn't. I think it was maybe 8,700.
I'm about to check right now. I'll confirm that. Yeah, go ahead.
This has just been a run that Justin Thomas, a cold run that we haven't seen from Justin Thomas in quite some time. And usually when he goes on those runs, he finds a way to pick up a victory and get himself back into that mix. He's not a player that goes very long, right? He has the upside and he has the capability. I know we haven't seen it this year, and the short game troubles, or I guess really just the putting problems, have really costed him. I still think 30-1 would be a great number for Justin Thomas. And this is, again, just a narrative I'm making up in my mind, but that guy has to be so fucking pissed after missing the cut. The way that he did at the Masters last week to get really banged by the weather, honestly, and just slip all the way down the leaderboard and wind up missing the cut. I saw pictures on Twitter of Justin Thomas after that round looking like he had just seen a ghost. I mean, looked absolutely mortified that he had just missed the cut at the Masters. I don't know. I just think if JT gets to 30-1, that's a number that I have to bet. Other than that, I'm not really all that interested in this range. I would say Sungjae is kind of the one that I like the most. He's someone where on the shorter tracks, I always like to go to Sungjae a little bit more. I think those suit his game a little bit better. And you mentioned that 150 to 200 yard pocket. That's where Sungjae does a lot of his best work too. He's actually gotten smashed down. I know he opened at like 35 to 40 this week. And I believe if you use Bet Rivers, if you use Bet Rivers and go to the enhanced odds, you can still get a 33 on Sung JM. I honestly might bet that right now. And I know Sung Jae hasn't won in quite some time, and it's an elevated event. But this is just a course. This is a course structure, accuracy, precision, short yardage, the pockets. I like Sung Jae a lot on this type of course in particular. So those are probably the two that I'm looking at the most. What do you got from this range?
I didn't know what to do with Sun JM. I'll be brutally honest with you. I did not know whether I wanted to bet him or if I'm just ignoring him. As of now, he's just a TBD for me. Like what you're saying about him, I'm actually surprised that you're not on Vic or Tony this week.
I was thinking about Tony a little bit. My one thing about Tony is it just doesn't. I kind of want Tony on a course where he can use that driver more, where he can take advantage of that ability of his. And it feels like this is just a course where how many strokes can Tony Finau really gain off the tee on this course, especially if he's not going to be hitting a lot of driver, right? Like it feels like that part of his game is just kind of neutralized a little bit. I was thinking Tony though. Honest to God, dude, I think I'm off Victor until he wins in the United States. I've seen him melt down on Sundays so much.
Yeah, the Sundays are.
And
he looked good though. I mean, early on.
One thing I will say is Victor's doing a lot of good to get himself in those positions. And eventually, I'm sure the domino is going to fall and he's going to pick up that first victory. But for him being 20, 25 to 1 and still doesn't have a win in the United States, still, is looking to really kind of solidify himself at this point of his career. We know he has the game. We've seen what he's done. But I was listening, I forget what podcast was saying this earlier. John Rahm is like 19 months older than Victor Hovland and has like 20 more wins than he does worldwide. It's just like,
it's insane.
I know. So
you also shouldn't compare anything to John Rahm at this point, I don't think. But 19 more, like, exactly. Dude, get some.
Like, I just don't think I'm going to bet on Victor until he wins in the United States. I just don't see it happening unless he gets a 35 or 40 to 1 in a major that I really like him at. That's really it.
Dude, I get it. I totally get it. After that, we didn't really talk about Max Homa. I feel like there's a lot of intriguing things about this course for Homa, but I'm not going to bet him. Other than that,
good number.
It's not a bad number. It really is not. The guy I got to in this range, or actually I have not yet, I kind of like Xander this week. I kind of like Xander.
Quietly played well last week. Gained in all 4 categories. T10. I like.
Yeah. T10. He's good in the 150 to 175 range. He's actually first on tour this year. From that range in strokes gained or approach from that range. And then 175 to 200 yard pocket, basically the mid irons. A lot of shots could be from there this week. We talked about that. He's pretty good there too. So I think that makes a lot of sense for Xander. 26 to 1. I haven't bet it yet. Think I might. I think I might with Xander. Yeah, that's that. Maybe we're squad riding that. All right, so we might have one. Shane Lowry, 35 to 1. He's kind of sitting in his zone by himself. He's like the only guy at 30 in the 30s, it seems like. Right. So was he was longer odds though. I feel like there's a lot of people on Lowry. I was on him last week. Few things about him that I'll say reasons to be on him again. I mean, he turned in a solid effort at Augusta, accurate off the tee, good for Harbor Town, obviously. Outstanding track record here. 3 out of his 4 with 3 top 10s, and then 2 of those being third place finishes. He's also been crushing Pete Dye courses lately, Pete Dye designs. So Lowry might be a bet for me. What are you thinking on Lowry or anyone from 35 to, we'll call it 45 with Hatton, Burns, Tom Kim, Kuchar, Henley, that range?
God, if Shane Lowry was just putting any better, I'd probably get to him. He's just not putting well. I just don't think I can get to him. It is a place where he has gained strokes putting every time he's been here, and he usually is a good putter. But just what's been going on the last like 2 months for him, he just doesn't gain strokes putting. So I'm probably not going to get there on Lowry. I think I'm most interested in probably Tom Kim and Sam Burns. Just a ridiculous number on Sam Burns. A ridiculous number. Yeah, you can get him at 45-1, and Sam Burns out of like, by the way, one of the two guys not named John Rahm or Scotty Scheffler to win an elevated event this year. Sam Burns is like one of the only like elite guys. He's like right there with like Morikawa and Xander and Spieth as guys who have kind of consistently played the RBC Heritage the last few years. And it's not like he had bad results. He got cut in 2020, but ninth place finish in 2019, T39 in 2021. Obviously is just coming off a win. I just feel like 45-1 is a whopping massive number on Sammy Burns. And then for Tom Kim, this just feels like a course that's perfectly structured for his game. And
yes,
he's not playing great right now, man. It's just, it hasn't been the best 2023 for him so far. He hasn't been able to pick up where he left off. But this feels like if there's a spot for Tom Kim to get it done, I think it could be here. And I've heard people say they prefer him to have played this course because it is somewhere where we see a lot of course history mean a lot, and the same names do pop up there time and time again. But he also took down the Shriners, and he never played there. He took down the Wyndham, and he never played there. Sedgefield, by the way, coastal course out on the East Coast. Thank you very much. I don't know. I think Tom Kim, this is a spot where Tom Kim is a little bit live. And then Matt Kuchar. I mean, I'm probably not going to bet Kuch at 45-1, but he loves it here. Like the match play, Valero and Heritage are like, this is Cooch Daddy's time of the year.
Yeah.
Gets cooking. Got to take him as like a top 40 or a top 20 because he seemingly does it every year. But as far as outrights, Kim and Burns are the ones that I'm interested in. Although Henley did charge last week, which was a little interesting.
Yeah, Henley's I'm going to get to him later because I do like Henley for something this week. Not quite sure I'm going to take him for an outright, but yeah, great point on Tom Kim. Third on tour this year in par 3 scoring and third in accuracy off the tee. So definitely lines up for this course for me as far as like what I was looking at. And you know, it suits his game. So Kuchar, yeah, the course history, not sure what I want to do with him. I kind of feel like he could take an outright here. I really do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I think I'm going to bet Tom Kim. Kuchar, I'm not sure. I'm still not quite sold on, but maybe some type of placement with Kuchar.
Yeah. I just think with this being an elevated event, I don't know if Kuchar can take it now. If this was the same field it was last year and Kuchar was 45-1, I'd bet it. But with the big dogs, I just don't know if I could bet Kuchar to win this event.
What about the madman himself?
Tyrrell Hatton?
Yeah, I'm not going there, but I've seen him on a lot of models popping towards the top for people this week.
No, I fucking hate that guy. I'm not gonna.
Fair enough. Your boy, Corey Connors, 55-1. Sahith Theegala, 60-1. JT Poston, 66-1. Ricky Fowler, 66. Fresh cut Ricky Fowler, 66-1. Siwoo Kim, 66-1. Tommy Fleetwood, 66. And then, yeah, you got Justin Rose, the only guy in the 70s range, it looks like, at least from what I'm looking at, 75-1. That entire tier, I'm going to get to somebody here. Jack, you getting anybody?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. That's how I feel as well. I'm getting this somebody here, probably only one, and then that's probably where I'm going to cut it, if I'm being honest. My boy Corey Connors.
Yeah.
At Valero, and very much so disappointed me last week at the Masters. This is a course, though, where he has played very well. I bet on him last year. He was kind of in contention on Sunday, as Corey Connors usually does. He's like, oh, Corey Connors is 3 off the lead. Maybe if he gets hot, he can make a run, and then he just pars everything.
You mean like Jason Day?
Yeah, just like Jason Day. Sounds familiar, right?
Right. It really does.
The ones that I was looking at the most, JT Poston, low key, outside of the big dogs, he might have the best course history out of anyone here. JT Poston's finished inside the top 8 each of the last 3 times he's been here. finished T6 in 2019, T8 in 2020 when the field was really good when it came back after COVID, and T3 last year. Interesting. I don't know if JT Poston can take down an elevated event, but really good course history. You know me, I'm a sucker for Siwoo. He's a Pete Dye guy. He's got a T2 here in the past. Loves him some Pete Dye courses. Accuracy. You know I'm a sucker for Siwoo, but I actually really like Tommy Fleetwood this week too. I really do like Tommy. And
what are we doing?
I know. I think I'm gonna get to Tommy. If I'm
what are we doing? So
probably,
how many guys in this range did you bet then?
Oh no. I didn't bet all of them. I'm saying who I like.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So you're just betting Fleetwood?
I'll probably end up getting to Tommy. I've only made one bet so far. Just in general. So I'm still talking through everything. I do want to get action in this range. Maybe that's stupid because these numbers don't usually win. Yeah, I'd probably say Fleetwood's the one I do like the most, and then probably Poston. But you know me, I could always find a way to sneak Siwoo on my bet slip.
Well, he's already on my slip.
Love it.
So, yeah, another guy who pops in that 150 to 200 yard approach shot range. Good data there. Really good data there. Could be worth a flyer, I think, this week, Mr. Siwoo. So, yeah, I'm doing it. Signed, sealed, and delivered. The Postman. We're liking a lot of the same around here, except for Fleetwood. I'm not on Fleetwood. But the Postman, I do, you mentioned the course history here. Doesn't really need to be long at this course. A lot of clubbing down for guys, and he's 14th in greens and reg this season. He is 16th in approach from 150 to 175. So a few things kind of lined up for me for the Postman. Other than that, I didn't really like much else in this range. I mean, Fleetwood, I get it. I just can't do it. I refuse. I absolutely refuse to bet Fleetwood. If it was a worse field, I think I would. But it's just, this is not that, so I can't do it with Fleetwood. But yeah, I don't know. Anyone between 80 and 100. Chris Kirk has been hot. Your boy Keegan Bradley's in there. Then we have the little Weasel. Actually, he's at 100 to 1. And then the Hoagie Buns, 100 to 1. He's let me down lately, man. He's been kind of letting me down here, and he's still somehow first in strokes gain approach. I don't understand.
Does he do anything else well? I don't even, if he's not playing good golf and he's first in strokes gain approach, I don't even want to go look at what he's doing off the tee and putting. It can't be any good.
Yeah, I really haven't looked, to be honest, because I just keep looking at that number and I'm like mesmerized by the fact that he has not had more wins or been even close to contending, right. Or like, the miscuts, dude, like he really let me down this last week. And I actually bet him
for betting Tom Hoagie at the Masters.
Yeah, I don't really know why I did that, but I took him for a top 40 though, I think too, right? Didn't I take him for a top 4 or was it top 20?
I don't know. You probably found as many ways to get a piece of Hoagie Buns as you could.
Yeah, I know. I was a fucking idiot. But yeah, no, I don't know what to do with Hoagie. I mean, would it surprise me if he pops up this week? No, it wouldn't. That's the infuriating part, because it wouldn't surprise me if he learns how to do anything else.
Models love Tom Hoagie, like data golf models and all the just figuring out who's been in good form. They love Tom Hoagie. It's like Russell Henley. They always love Russell Henley too, I swear.
Mm-hmm. Flyer 100 to 1.
If you want.
Oh man, I'm gonna regret this. I know I am.
There's honestly only 2 names that really give me jazz the rest of the way. And I don't think I'm going to actually bet on either one of them, but I think they're good numbers.
Let's hear them.
I think Gary Woodland, 130 to 1 is a pretty decent number after he kind of hovered for a little bit last week. He gained strokes putting. Hold on. Now I got to pull this up.
Boy.
I looked at Gary Woodland's profile and I saw no way he gained strokes putting. Gary Woodland gained 0.74 strokes putting last week at the Masters. He's only gained strokes putting one other time since the St. Jude, since the start of the playoffs last year.
So are you saying he's fixed, or you're saying like that's a fluke?
No,
Like,
probably gonna lose strokes putting again this week, but 130 to 1 is a pretty good number if he doesn't.
right.
The other one is Kurt Kitayama. 150.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We're on board.
On Kurt Kitayama. What are we doing? What are we doing? This guy just took down the API. What? I get he was the literal one guy to putt worse than Scotty Scheffler last week, but it was probably an outlier. Kurt Kitayama is a pretty good putter. Like 150 to 1 is a massive number. That's more disrespectful than the Sam Burns 45 to 1 in my mind.
I love it, man. I mean, he's tied for 10th in par 3 scoring. Never played here before, but like you said, recently won. Like, I don't understand how
he had a good match play too. Like,
he can contend with big dogs. Like, this is a guy that's on the rise right now, and if you can't see that and you're gonna price him at a point where he shouldn't be, I'm gonna take the bait every time. I like Kurt Kitayama.
I think that's the only person like genuinely over 100 to 1 that I really do feel good about.
Yeah, let me look real quick just to see who else is past 100 to 1. Webb has won here before.
Lost.
Yeah, he's done. I'm not betting him. I could see Keith Mitchell contending, but this isn't the track for him. It's just not.
I want him to use that driver, baby.
Yeah, this is not a track for Spawn. I'm not going to win.
What about your boy Aaron Rye?
That's actually a great call on your part. I love the accuracy type of events.
I knew you would.
Yeah, I really do with Aaron Rye. I usually tend to go that route. I don't see him winning this though, so I'm not gonna advise it. How about that? Placements, sure. You want to take a little gamble on a placement bet? I could see it. You got anything off the radar? I know you don't have any other bets after this point, like outrights. Do you have anything? Placement, props, head-to-heads, anything, Jack?
I got nothing, and I don't think I'm going to go on any props this week. I think I'm really – man, I haven't hit an outright in fucking so long. The one outright I do have in 2023 was a Friday live bet that I took on Max Homa. I don't have an outright in 2023, and I got to figure it out. It's really starting to drive me crazy, actually, because I felt so good in the fall. I mean, winning Willie Z at St. Jude's, then 10 to 1, but winning Rory at the Tour Championship, and then starting off the year, we had Keegan at the Zozo. I had Tom Kim at the Shriners. I had Tony Finau in Houston. It was like 5 wins in a matter of like 2 months, dude. It was an unbelievable run, and now we're almost into May. I'm still looking for my first outright of 2023, man. So I'm really going to try to focus in on that, try to key in on some stats and some final thoughts that I have on guys. That's why I only got one bet made as of right now, and I still got some things to solidify. So, yeah, probably no props for you, boy, this week, and just focusing and doing everything in my power to win an outright, man.
It's coming back around. I mean, we kind of called that back then, right? We know how this thing levels out. It always corrects itself, or it always like catches up and finds a way to, you're only going to hit this many outrights this season. Like, that's just the name of the game when it comes to golf betting. And
it's so funny, like the mental mindset of the two different runs right now. It's like, God, hitting an outright is so fucking hard. How do I do this? And in the fall, it was like, God, this shit's so easy. I'm racking it up.
That's how I felt, though, the entire time. I was like, fuck, Jack is killing it. Jack is absolutely killing it. And I was so happy. But at the same time, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Like, can I please somehow find a way to get on Jack's level? And we're getting closer there. We're itching closer. Now it's about the two storms colliding. And just, you know, if we hit which ones are we on together? We're on Kurt Kitayama. We're on maybe Siwoo together. We might be. Yeah, I don't know if you've decided.
Maybe Tom Kim, maybe Xander.
Maybe Tom Kim, maybe Xander. And then Postman. I don't think you're betting Postman, but I did bet Postman.
It's probably going to be Postman or Tommy.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot, and I'll choose Tommy.
I mean, I hope you do, just because you feel like it seems like you're strongly convicted on Tommy this week, and I don't want you to change for, sake of me saying take Postman, because I think Tommy, he's capable. We know he's capable. It's just he hasn't, and that's the part where I always go against the grain, I guess, or holds me back on Mr. Fleetwood there. But as far as props go, I have Russell Henley top 20, 3 straight top 20s, T4 at the Masters, most accurate off the tee this season. Mostly fits the mold as far as what I'm looking for. First over the last 24 rounds in fairways gained as well. A little bit different here. We talked about Shane Lowry and then Sam Burns, and I think you're pretty high on Burns this week, and you like his price, which makes sense. That 40-1 number or whatever it is makes a lot of sense. I am taking a head-to-head against Sam Burns this week. It is Shane Lowry over Sam Burns, minus 110 on Bet Rivers. I'm just not quite sold on Sam Burns. I feel like, you talked about the elevated event, and I think that was the match play, though, right? So I don't know how much I can really look at that and say, well, he's going to do well in another elevated event. Not that he can't. I just don't really trust some of his game right now. And maybe I'm wrong for believing that or not believing in him. I do think he's a great golfer. I think he's going to win here probably soon. I just don't know if it's this week, and I don't know if he really contends truly this week. Whereas I feel pretty good about Shane Lowry, so I'm going to take Lowry there. And then Akshay Bhatia to make the cut. He's minus 105 on PB, I'll call it. I'm not going to – no free ads. On PB, Akshay Bhatia to make the cut. I really hate sounding like that guy, but he's just too damn good. Like, good accuracy, 9th in greens and reg, 5th in proximity, 13th in strokes gained approach. No history here. Don't care. I just don't care.
Does his best work so far in his short career on coastal courses.
That's something. That means something to me. That's good enough. That's like track history.
I like Akshay near water. Akshay near water, I'll take it.
Beautiful. So to make the cut, love that. Minus 105. You're basically getting even money. Let's do it. Jack, we've reached that point. It's one and done time. You let me back in the race last week. Who you got this week? It's still your call because you're still up.
I am fortunately still ahead. But yeah, last week was an 161-point swing in Joey's favor, still down 150. So still got some room to go. I'm still first. How do I want to go about it this week? I don't think I can burn one of the big dogs.
Good.
We still have three major championships left. We still have, I believe, 4 or 5 elevated events after this. Okay.
What number do you? Yeah, you're probably not gonna know off the top of your head, but
what's up?
I was wondering what number elevated event this was. I thought I saw it earlier, and I can't. As far as elevated events, is it the 6th? Okay, that sounds about right. I think
something like that. God, Rory, just seeing Rory burned at that price is so unbelievable.
Brutal.
I'm gonna go. Did I use Sungjae already? Did I use Sungjae?
I wasn't looking at the sheet.
I'm gonna use Sungjae.
Okay. All right. I don't hate it.
Yeah, you've used Sungjae. I have not used Sungjae. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking Sungjae.
I don't hate it at all.
I don't know where else I'm gonna use him, so.
I like that call. But we said this before. You made this mistake once. I will not make this mistake. I am not picking a one and done that I am not betting outright. So I'm starting my card at Mr. Takes all fucking day. Patrick Cantlay. Track record don't lie. Ball don't lie. And sometimes he hates the lie, and so then he can't make a shot. But I'm gonna go with Patrick Cantlay as my one and done this week because I feel pretty confident in him at least doing well enough to keep me in the ball game.
I like that pick. There are two other spots. There are two spots on the schedule that I'm saving Patrick Cantlay for. If I were to burn him at a different spot, this would probably be one of them. So I like that pick.
All right. Thank you. I'm glad you're on board because you've been the one and done king up until last week. So that makes me feel a little bit better about it.
Big events here in 2023 are all I'm getting wrong. I had Keegan just absolutely fall apart at the players on the back nine to miss the cut, and then Rory. Those were the only two missed cuts I've missed all year in the one and done.
Yeah. It's the brutal one. Brutal. Just anyways, Jack, with that said, though, hopefully I can catch up, make some more ground up this week. Hopefully we get an outright. Let's get another one. Let's add to this total, whether it be 6 or 7, that we are calculating it by, however we're going about calculating it, one together. We each have, you have 4 and I have 3. So we have 7 overall. Let's get another one. You're due. I think you're definitely due here, even though you're still up on me on the outright board. But any final thoughts here before we wrap this puppy up and move on to the RBC Heritage?
I really hope that the 2024 RBC Heritage is not an elevated event.
I love that. I love that. That's your final thought. I just hope next year's not the fucking elevated event.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, what are we doing? The week after the Masters?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of like I said, I don't think anyone's going to go out there and purposely try not to win, but I just feel like the drive to win's probably not going to be the strongest for a lot of guys. Are they going to go out there and give it their best? Yeah, but what is their best after they just sacrifice their lives away for the hardest golf tournament? Maybe not the hardest golf tournament, but the most meaningful golf tournament, right, in the entire world. Yeah. It's a very important week for everybody. Obviously, the stress and everything's going to be as high as possible. To have an elevated event, starting 4 or 5 days after the final round of the Masters, that just feels kind of absurd to me. So I hope this does change moving forward, but I love this course at the same time. So hopefully we can just get I feel like we saw last year was kind of fun. We had some big guns. You could still let some guys from the bottom have an opportunity to win it. I just don't think this has to be an elevated event. It just doesn't feel like the right week in the schedule. That's my final thought. I'll leave it at that.
I couldn't have said it any better. It doesn't feel like a week for an elevated event. And I mean, look at Jordan Spieth. Perfect example. We've already talked about it. What does Spieth what does he have left in the tank to give this week? And now watch him win back to back, because this is just his way of fooling everybody betting on the tournament, and he's going to go out there and kill it. But yeah, with that said, we are a part of the OnTap Sports Network at ontapsportsnet.com. You can follow the social media account at OnTap Sportsnet. You can follow us at OnTap Golf. You can follow Jack at Jack Bushman2. You can follow me at Joey Knows Nothing. Also follow the gambling account at OnTap Bets, because you will see pretty regularly it's me or it's Beat On, or even Jack with some golf stuff every once in a while, posting some content on Twitter as far as picks go. We try to do that pretty regular every day. Jack keeps up with the golf account for the most part, as far as regular highlights. He's always pumping out the highlights throughout the tournament. So if you need a place to go and catch that, check out the OnTap Golf account, and then tune in for, you can have an article this week, Jack. I don't want to promote something if you're not going to have it, but you should, right?
Yeah, it'll be out tomorrow morning, and then I haven't decided if I'm going to have a live bets article or if I'm just going to put a short video up on Twitter, but I will have some content coming out tomorrow morning regardless.
There we go. So stay tuned for all of that. Shout out to our sponsors at Bet Rivers, where I took the head-to-head Shane Lowry over Jack's boy this week, Sam Burns. Bet Rivers, if you enter the promo code ONTAP, you can get an up to $250 deposit match. So go to betrivers.com and enter the promo code on tap for an up to $250 deposit match. With that said, we have been on these microphones for almost an hour and 20 minutes. Longer episode than normal. We had a lot to get out off our chest with the Masters taking place, but a little bit of a hangover going into this event, and somehow we still had a lot to jam pack about the RBC Heritage, because that's just what we do, Jack. We just sit here and we talk golf every week. We do it every Tuesday, and we love doing it. And we try to make some money, and hopefully you guys make some money too. Like I said, with that said, good luck. Best of luck with all your bets. Enjoy the tournament. Crack them, lock them, and we're out.